Well, hey, what's going on, everyone? Justin again. As always, thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. Yeah, I'm kind of trying to get back into my groove, man. I'm feeling a little bit more settled in. Trying to bring my smile back. Got the bike in here, right? Finally got a little couch, a place to actually sit to talk to you to begin with instead of on the hard tile or on a military cot. Got a couple of lamps and a couple of things from the Dollar Tree. But that's not what today's video is about. Today's video is about the 9 cordless tools that I have from Snap-on, 10 I guess if you include the charger, what I think about each one of them, and how they've held up for me at the dealership so far. Alright, so let's get into it. I think one of the first cordless tools that I actually got that was a Snap-on before I actually got the batteries and charger, my buddy Dick Skinner actually sent out this really cool, I think it's like 500 or 700 lumen LED drop light that you can hang underneath anywhere under the car. You can drop it on the top of the hood, shut it down in some kind of weird spot. If you're looking at that fan assembly or you want to get a little bit more light on the compressor that's on the bottom, maybe you're working at night, you need to shine up. Okay, a couple of things I noticed about this is that the actual turning part of the hook is a little bit stiff, and because of how much it moves, you can get pretty sufficient lighting in one dedicated area. So it kind of ratchets, but the hook part, that's kind of what I was getting at. There's really no flex at the top part, but it does flex kind of right here at the rubber where it's being held in on. It can make it to where you can't really like dip it unless you find a place to set the battery on. Other than that, this has been a fantastic light. It runs for, I would say, probably about 3/4 of the day, half the work day of leaving it on solid. 3/4 of the day if you have it on solid, but you're kind of using it intermittently for different things and you're not forgetting to turn it off. It actually lasts a lot longer than the underhood light. Okay, underhood light. I think this was the second item that I bought. No, third item. It's the third item I bought from Snap-on. I'm going to skip 2 for now. But the underhood light. Okay, this thing probably works for about a half a work day, so about 4 hours roughly. Okay, if I just leave it on under the hood. The battery charge time is still relatively quick, but I heard that the more and more you're burning out the batteries, the not so long they're going to last, okay? Whereas with a tool, let's say like this drill, for instance, I have a dedicated battery for it. Actually, all my tools pretty much have a dedicated battery to them, even down to the stereo. So if I have a dedicated battery for one specific tool and I'm not using it a whole bunch, I'm not putting a whole lot of recharge time on this particular battery. That would go for some of these other tools that we're going to get into here a little bit later, but I'm using it as an example. So if this is a dedicated battery and I'm not using it a lot, this battery is going to outlast that one, which I'm using all the time, and I'm burning it up and I'm charging it. And there's so many different times of charging before they're no good anymore. All right, the second tool that I picked up, that was this 1/2-inch brushless impact from Snap-on, and I gotta tell you, I had the DeWalt, I've had the Milwaukee Gen 2, and whatever they couldn't do, whatever they couldn't break away, nut-wise or bolt-wise, it would continue to hammer, it just wouldn't go anymore. This one will hammer like that as well, but there are certain times where I feel like there's an internal glitch, because if you wanted to take things off fast, like in a lug nut pattern, by the 3rd lug nut, it'll randomly just stall out, nothing will happen. You'll have to wait a second for it to take a quick deep breath, and then it'll hit again. I haven't had any battery swap issues whatsoever. I had dropped it once or twice, but overall it's still in pretty good condition minus the grease and the smudge stains on it. I do like the battery light indicator. It still works out really well. The battery light indicator, I think on this one is down to the lower portion. These other cordless tools, which we're going to get into. All right, I think it was the third one that I had picked up was this long reach brute. Okay, this thing has been a brute. See, I've probably had, because I bought these all relatively close to one another. I would say I got the light first from Dick Skinner, and then about a month later, I think I got the drop light and the 1/2-inch kind of around the same month. So maybe I had those for a couple months after that. Then I bought this maybe about 6 months back, something like that. And it's held up really, really well. Look, I've been able to put a lot of leverage behind it, pressure on the battery. I haven't had any issues with the clips yet. I haven't had any issues with the head yet. I haven't re-greased the head either. I heard that there was a special tool. I think Tony from Nuts and Bolts with Tone told me about that. He does have a video on it. I'll have to go back through it. I'm just letting you guys know I had not re-greased it, and it's still kicking butt for me. The next one I got, it's not a brute, but it's a long reach 1/4 inch. I have loved this thing, okay? This thing, in comparison to the Matco, pretty close. I don't have the Matco anymore, but the Matco was probably a little bit faster than this long reach. And I saw what the standard length one was, and they're about the same speed-wise. I got this one, I think, maybe a couple months after I got the brute long reach, and I have thoroughly enjoyed this one, okay? I try not to use this one too much when it comes to things with oil, like ATF and things like that, valve covers, things like that. I've got no problem with it, but I just try to keep it away from the transmission fluid, if you know what I mean. For that, I actually use the DeWalt hex driver, that little mini atomic. That thing's been kick butt. All right, I guess we'll go with item number 6, even though it's really not a tool, but it can be a tool. For those of you that actually need music or love having music when you're actually wrenching on something, this speaker has been by far one of my favorite Bluetooth speakers. And I can say that because I've gone through about a dozen speakers off of Amazon. There are a couple that I liked that held up for a pretty good amount of time, but none have lasted longer than this Snap-on so far. This Snap-on I've had probably pretty close to about 6 months now, and most of the Bluetooth speakers I run through, I usually break them within 3 to 6 months. So she's still holding up quite fine. I enjoy her. Okay, the next tool I got was this cordless right angle drill. I do like this because it does have more control. I can go at a slower speed. So for that, I'm grateful. I still have a preference for the pneumatic when it comes to like metal rivets and things like that. But if you're working on the inside of the car, you're trying to slow the speed down, have more control to maybe catch the shavings, something like that, this has by far been a go-to tool for me. I've been doing some interior work, and there are things that I have to drill out, and this tool is pretty cool, and it's nice, and it's clean, and in a new car, that's what you want. You want clean tools to do the job on the inside. Okay, the next one I got was, it's a pretty close tie, okay, kind of almost simultaneously back to back, but I picked this up because I really needed a 3/8 driver. I wanted to go with a Snap-on. I could have most definitely have gone with a DeWalt. Could have definitely have stayed with the Matco one that I had, but I was done with the Matco. I wanted to move over to the Snap-on, try this guy out. This is the CD761 Alpha. This thing's been a little rock and gun, man, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I haven't used it for lug nuts and things like that, but that's not what my intent was. But for underbody, cross member plates, things like that, transmission work, I mean, even some of the stuff on the top of the engine that I can do real quick, or, you know, anything on the suspension, it does have some limitations. Obviously, the RPM's not going to be there for sway bars, and obviously it's not going to have a lot of power for those lower ball joints, but you'd be surprised, there are some smaller lower ball joints that you can just break free the nut with, and this thing has worked out great. So I thoroughly love it. Look, I want to get it in high vis here pretty soon, so I am going to make a little trade out, but I've been demoing this for a couple weeks, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. This tool just actually recently came in for me. I did trade in that non-brute standard length Snap-on orange ratchet that I was using at home. I traded it over for the brushless high vis, and this thing is pretty legit, man. I like the lights that it has here. A lot more light, it seems, obviously, than the little one it gives you on some of the other ratchets. I'm still trying to decide if I like the way that it's pointed, because the other one kind of gives you one light down at the bottom. This gives you a nice half cone. With the top cone, sometimes I don't want the top cone to light, but that's cool though. I do like the extra added light they give you. The trigger, okay, I can't really get too close. I'm gonna try though. So this trigger has a lot of differences between this trigger and the trigger that was on my other 3/8. This one's more rounded, it's a little bit more recessed. The one on the brand new brushless, it's a lot more square, but it is rounded on the edges. It's actually shaped in the curvature of where your finger would be pushing, instead of just the ball design that they had here, which was just smooth all the way around, and it was just like this moon shape. So this is like a crescent moon shape, okay? They dipped it in instead of just kind of hovered over it. And I think it's a lot more comfortable. It's also a lot more faster when it comes to actuation than the other one. The other one seems a little bit more delayed. It's not the most powerful. Okay, the brute obviously is a brute for a reason. There's something a little bit different in the gearing, but I'm not disappointed with it at all. I have thoroughly enjoyed having that. All right, last item. I'm not even sure if you really call this a tool or not, but it is a tool because it charges the tools, right? So it's the battery charger. This thing is a fast charger, man. I have been really impressed with how quickly it can recharge one of these batteries. I would tell you, on average, any one of the batteries that like comes close to dead, where it's flat, it's in the red area, but maybe there's still a little bit of juice left, okay, this thing will charge them all the way back up within like 30 minutes. And that goes for the 1/2-inch one too. I've been very impressed with the actual charging station itself. It does work out well in my Matco toolbox. We are going to get into a ProTech September, but not today. I'm hoping I can go ahead and do this video for you guys come Friday, okay? Maybe even tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. I just wanted to try to update you guys on some things that's been going on. I'm starting to get settled into the apartment. I'm starting to get some furnishings. I'm starting to get a feel for the neighborhood around me. And I finally got the Wi-Fi set up, which is why I thought I'd go ahead and sit down and do today's video. Try to get back in the game, and we'll get back to one of those Friday night live stream hangouts. All right, so we'll see you guys next video for the ProTech September. Cheers to those of you that have your beers. I hope you're enjoying your work week. We'll see you next time. Deuces.